Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Blue Sicx Tarot with your host Blue Sicx. And if you're new to this channel, please subscribe and also hit that bell notification. So last week whilst surfing the internet, do people still say surf the internet? I came across a video by a woman called Katey Flowers, link will be in the description, and she did a top 5, and I thought, what sort of millennial YouTuber would I be if I didn't still acquire the idea and use it for my own video? So these are going to be the top 5 tarot I just cannot live without. So roll the intro. So to start off, I'd like to say that the top 5 here are decks I use for readings as events and stuff. So I have used these cards for general readings for events. And second of all, I've only reviewed one of these 5 decks, so some of these others I will be doing reviews on later on. So if there's any you do like the look of, let me know, and I might rush those forward review wise. So to start off, I'll go with the Deborah Blake's Everyday Witch Tarot. Now this is the size of the box that I ordered. I don't believe there is a smaller box, but don't worry, the cards aren't this big. So one of the reasons this is here, they're not the most unique design of cards, but they are ones I picked up just out of a collection desire at this point, and then just fell in love with using them. They're great energy. Now as you go through, so that's the back of them, so they're very on point as to what their theme is, and each card just looks really nice, bright and lovely. These are very popular. This is a very popular deck. I do see quite a few readers using these, and I said they're very bright and colourful, and they are very easy to read. Sorry about the handle. And they are very easy to read. Very rider-like. So if you are used to using the riders or only riders, because I know a lot of people do only tend to use the riders. These are, if you like the riders, you'll like these. There is enough of a variation, so they're not just a reprint version, but as I said, the artwork is nice, bright, colourful, vibrant. And as soon as I picked these up, I went through the deck, and usually what I do when I buy a new deck, I start using it, and I just couldn't put these ones down. And so now these are like the staple. Every time I go off and do a reading, even if I usually bring about 1 or 2 decks of tarot with me, or about 2 or 3. And regardless of what the others are, this is the deck that I always have. This will be the go-to deck, and maybe 2 or 3 others, but this is like my mainstay. And as I said, you can see it's just very easy, not harsh. They're just really nice and pleasant, and that's also what you want in a deck. I would say these are good for beginners as well. As I said, I'll probably be doing a full proper review on these in the future, but they're nice, light, and I do believe that they are good for beginners just because the images aren't harsh. They're very light-hearted, and so this is like one of my favourites. And as I said, I just can't put these down. I just can't. It's really nice. So my next deck is the Mystic Mondays Tarot. Now, first of all, the box looks really good, and it's quite sturdy, so you don't necessarily need a case for this. Most of the other decks I use do have their own little pouches. You can carry this around without really needing a pouch, so the box is really cool. It looks quite nice. So we'll just move on to how the deck actually looks. Okay, so first off, you've got the back design here, and you've got lovely shiny sides to them, so they do look, the backs do look amazing. And once again, these are very bold. These have really bold colours. Now there's not a lot of detail in the imagery, but the plain colours, there's the very bold colours really. So there's not a lack of detail in the images themselves, but the colours once again are just really nice and bright, and they are not as easy to read. I wouldn't necessarily say these are for beginners, but these are ones to have if you are a collector, because these are, once again, really nice cards. Now, there are some decks I do like to use that aren't necessarily as easy to read, as you'll see later. But these ones are, once again, very pleasant. Once again, not easy to read, but they're not too harsh, because sometimes, as I've said before, you do come across decks that are really quite harsh. Whilst, once again, the vibrancy, the lovely colours, trying to put that on better. But yeah, it's just, these are very easy to learn, difficult to master, I would say, this deck. But then, just because even the death card isn't particularly ominous as some of the others, and then these are very good. This is also a very thick card stock as well. Just to kind of, it'd have to be thick for the edges there, but so these are quite thick as well. Although when I bought them at least, all the cards were kind of stuck to each other, so I did have to tentatively peel off each card from each other. So if you do one at getting these you will have to spend a bit of time removing one from another before you really get to shuffle. So, but they are still very nice. And I said it's as there's not a lot of detail in the background and stuff, you won't get lost in them. The images aren't overwhelming. And but as I said, the colours are nice and beautiful, and well, it looks pretty. What else can I say? Now, when I was younger, I was really big into anime and manga, and I'm still rereading a lot of my old favourite mangas and watching some animes on Netflix. And over the few years, I've come across about 3 different anime style decks, but this is definitely one to get a hold of, which is the Mystical Manga Tarot. Now, once again, this is about the same size box as the Everyday Witch from the same company, but you can just tell by the box cover what you're sort of in for. So, if you are into your tarot and into your anime, this is the deck to get. Forget about the Manga University. I'll put a link in the description to that one. This is the deck to have. So first of all, you've got the back. Kind of nice and kind of anime style. This is the sort of thing you'd imagine to see in an anime. And the artwork, once again, very anime, bright, colourful, and that was not so great to show. But these are very, very anime protagonist style of cards. You can every character here you can just see as an anime character. I wouldn't be surprised to see some of these in fictionalized manga. I'd say the one weakness to these is the card stock is thinner than normal, so they do bend kind of easily. So I'm trying not to put too much pressure on these as I'm holding them. But at the same time, they're still quite easy to use. Once again, not necessarily for beginners. I would say that maybe make this your 3rd deck. If you do want to own more than one, I'd probably say make this your 3rd deck. So once you get used to your standard, either if you start with the rider, that's always what most people start with. But this would be like you get used to your rider, then you pick up your 2nd deck and kind of get used to that, just to kind of get used to the different feel from that. Then I'd probably say get these. So as I said, you can already, when I look at these images, I can hear the music that would be playing in these scenes. I can mentally hear the JRPG style of background music for their cutscenes. I can imagine the intro to the series and how energetic or slow the intro would be. So you do definitely get a bigger anime feel from this deck than some of the others I've come across. And so before, I've got 2 other anime decks, and but this is the most standard anime, modern day, rather than any specific genre or era outside of obviously the current era. But these are definitely worth getting a hold of, and I don't use these ones a lot, but I do first of all want to use these more often, and will be doing so in the future. But it's just this just takes me back to my early teens, back when anime was still on VHS and HMV and MVC was still around. So HMV is still here, but yeah, this just reminds me of my early to mid teens coming across anime, and the artwork was amazing, and so are these. And if you can get these are really worth getting. So next up is a deck based on one of my favourite historical cultures. So this is the Tarot Nefertari. Now I'm going to try my best with this, but yes, that's Tarot Nefertari, done by the Scarabino. And yes, the box is very shiny, and so this is about the standard size for the Scarabino, and you'll see why this box is so nice and shiny. So Egyptology is one of my interests. I'm no expert, but I do have DVDs, and I do like watching the documentaries when they come out. So on the back you have the Eye of Ra, or Horus, on the back there, and then you've got the best part of the card. So the whole deck is done in standard colourful hieroglyphics, but at the same time there is a lot of shiny gold. So the camera probably won't pick these up so well, so I'll try to hold them at an angle. But I don't even think I need to explain why these are amazing. Yeah, so you've got the lovely shiny background there, and the print is over the top of it, and it just depicts ancient Egyptian style hieroglyphs, whilst at the same time having a really good background. They're nice, I said, because they're nice and shiny, but they still feel authentic to standard hieroglyphics. Now these are actually this is actually one of 4 Egyptian themed decks I have, and these are by far my favourite. Although the most expensive, these came to 30 UK British sterling pounds, so probably about $20, $25 US dollars. Not quite sure how much it is in euros at the moment, but these are just really good. The one thing I quite like about these is the fact that the image, I'll try and see if I can do best here, you can see the images here also faded, so it's like you've come across the tomb and just the paint just tends to be faded. In fact, one of my friends purchased these decks and then noted that all the images had faded, and I had to clarify that that was the standard style. But yeah, so it does feel like these are just lifted off from tombs and just printed on card, and they just have a great energy to them as well. It just might be the richness of the shiny gold that makes it feel more powerful and more energetic, but these are just still really nice cards. And so some of them, not all of them, are so overwhelmed with the gold, but they're still there, and as I said, they just have a nice feel to them. Once again, these wouldn't necessarily be something for someone who's starting out. I'd probably say deck 4, because sometimes there's not enough detail at the back, so you are just reading the small imagery and the pips up here. So I would recommend out of the Egyptian cards that the Scarabino produce, these would be the ones to get. Maybe followed by the there you go, try and get that there, and I'd probably say this, and then maybe the, can't remember the name of it now, the Ramses deck. There, I've got there eventually. So there is another deck that is really good, which is the Ramses deck, but this is superior by far, just because it's as close to Egyptian hieroglyphics as most decks would do, and still make them readable and just nice to look at. There are 2 other decks I've got of those, but they don't seem to have as much vibrancy and readability, so I definitely say these are like one of my favourites. If my house is burning down, this would be one of the ones I'd get. It's alright, I just touched wood before, just after I said my house would burn down. So now I'll go up to my final deck. This one I have done a review on, and if you have seen the review of these, you would not be surprised that this is in the top 5. Once again, I'll put a link in the description. The deck I'm talking about, of course, is the True Black Tarot. Comes in a nice solid box. You've got your nice thick book. You've got your kind of taster card at the bottom here. the only issue I'd say with these cards is they aren't as easy to shuffle, but then that's only indicative of the fact the quality is so good. And so you got the back of the card. As I said, I'll put a link to the description for the review of these, but just a quick look. The artwork on these are the best I've ever come across. These are just simply mind-blowing. In fact, when I received these, I decided to never use these to read because they are so nice, they look so beautiful. I didn't want to do anything to damage them. I did contemplate buying a second deck, just so I've got one to read with and just one to stare at. But as I said in the review, I live in the UK and these come from the US. And sometimes in the UK, if we buy an item, we have to pay import tax. So this cost me £17.4 in tax alone, in import tax, just to pick them up from the post office. And the decks themselves are about $75 US dollars, and I think it was about £20 postage. It's been a while since I looked at the email, but as I said before, as I said in the review, this deck is just amazingly beautiful, and I'm really happy I've got these. I am now using them more often. I'm not using them as my standard go-to deck to read with, and that's probably still going to stay with my Everyday Witch and the Mystic Mondays, but I'd use these for more special occasions. Not like a standard event, but maybe if I'm doing like a home event, if a group of people just want to have one tarot reader, these are the ones I'd use. Now, I wouldn't say these are perfect for people who are beginners. I would say these are probably for more intermediaries, so this would be like deck 5 or 6, as I said, if you want to have more than one deck. But yeah, this is like deck 5 and 6, so I say you'd really got to get used to other themes and styles before getting these ones. But as I said, these are just amazingly beautiful. I wish the camera in this recording could show just how nice these are. These are definitely worth getting if you can afford it. As I said in the other review, it's the fact that import tax really did kick my ass with these. But overall, these were definitely worth the money and definitely worth the wait. Okay, that was my top 5. I hope you enjoyed it, and join me on Friday for the weekly forecast. I'll see you again soon.